our very first segment, let me introduce on the show Mrin Agarwal of FinSafe. Mrin, hi, and thank you so much for taking our time and joining us today on The Money Show. Let's start off first with, the fact that as we are, in the months of June, July, many individuals have graduated. Many of them have already got their first job, and perhaps next month they'll be getting their first check as well, their salary as well. And I bet it's a very, very proud feeling for all of them, for their family members too. So, it's important that they learn the right money management lessons as well. Yes, you get a sense of freedom, but with that freedom comes a sense of responsibility as well, Mrin. So how should these young individuals who just started their career, who will get their first paycheck, look at money, approach their money habits? What would be the right and healthy money habits they should ensure they deploy from day one?
Good evening, Mobina. Thank you for having me on the show. Yes, a lot of people will be attaining a financial freedom of some sort because they have the freedom to start spending, but that is not financial freedom, of course. And it is typically seen that for a lot of first-timers, they love having the fact that they don't have to ask anybody for money and they can do what they want with their money. So here are some interesting tips that they could follow. I think first and foremost is that they would need to have a budget and, ensure that they keep aside some money for savings. More importantly, it's not about just starting off investing. Before you actually invest, you have to do a couple of things. It's like running a marathon, right? So you're not going to immediately go and run the marathon, right? There would be a preparation that you will have to do before you can actually run the marathon. And one of the things that I would advise is not to jump directly into opening a demat account and start stock trading. Before you do all of that, you need to put in some measures of financial security into place so that if there is a contingency of some sort or there is an emergency of some sort, you have access to some money. So you'll have to create an emergency fund with 3 to 6 months of expenses, and also ensure that you are adequately covered for health insurance. Of course, if you're working and your employer is providing it, it may be enough for now, but do check whether you're adequately covered. So that's point number one. As far as investing is concerned, start by first reading up, making yourself aware. What happens is that a lot of people are experimenting with stocks, and you have friends and colleagues talking about stocks and IPOs, and there is this tendency to just go with trending investments. But I would suggest that first read up, take a course, and then when you start investing, also start investing with a goal in mind. It's not like just saying that, okay, I want to grow my money by 30% every year. You need to have a goal in mind when you actually start investing. And the fourth thing that I would say is that don't go by the elders' biases. The investing time when the elders were investing, their time was different. Times are very different right now. So don't carry forward those biases. Do your own research and invest for a goal.
Okay, so no biases, and ensure that you keep some sort of goal in your mind of, what you essentially want to achieve. Now, Mrin, you mentioned in the beginning, and I think that, I suppose, makes sense as well, that, you should create some sort of a safety net first by ensuring, that you have an emergency fund, you have adequate coverage. Now, at the beginning of one's career, the salary is usually quite low. So in that salary, I have to pay, especially those who've moved away from their hometowns and, are not living with their families and want to make it on their own. You have to spend on rent, you have to pay electricity bills, you have to manage groceries. And then, of course, plus you have your lifestyle expenses as well, which people don't want to compromise on. So, you have your discretionary expenses. And on top of that, I'm supposed to keep money aside for insurance, emergency fund, and maybe find a little to invest as well. Mrin, this seems like a very daunting task. How would you advise young investors find their way around that?
So budgeting is the way. I normally recommend a 30-30-40 plan, which is 30% expenses, 30% EMI and 40% of savings. So hopefully the EMIs won't be very high. At the maximum, you might have an education loan. But here's the deal. Within the 30%, try to have a discretionary fun expense budget also. So within, let's say that you're taking home 100 rupees, so 30 rupees is kept for expenses. Keep some amount aside for fun expenses, because obviously you need to have the fun as well. Try to not go in for personal loans and Insta loans. They're very tempting. It's very easy to buy everything that you've always wanted with these loans, but there is a price that you pay for these loans, and that price is very high. It's 22% and upwards. And, honestly, your salary doesn't increase at that rate, and neither do your investments really grow on that rate consistently. So think about that and, stay away from the peer pressure. I know it's difficult, but you'll have to be very strong about it and say that, no, I do want to save money for my future. And at the same time, I really want to stay away from the peer pressure and keep the 30-30-40 equation in mind.
Okay, so keep that equation, that bucket in your mind, and ensure that all of your expenses fit in that bucket. Of course, the expenses that can be cut off, don't hesitate to do that. I suppose in the beginning, you'll also have to be a little brutal when you consider doing that. What's interesting, Mrin, and I know you touched upon this earlier as well. You hit the nail on the head when you mentioned that nowadays people are very tempted with IPOs and all these hot companies like Zomato, Paytm as well now listing on the bourses. So it's all the more very tempting for young investors to come into the market and start trading. In fact, there's probably less of an urge to splurge it, but rather to immediately open a demat account and start trading. Mrin, I know you mentioned read up, take a course, etc., but do you advise that should any which ways be the first port of call for young investors, or what are the other investment instruments they should consider?
Well, if you're working, then of course the EPF is going to be mandatory investment, which is a good investment for the long-term future. Again, you can look at from a retirement perspective, and yes, I know it sounds, why are you talking about retirement when I have just started working? I have a long way to go for it. But you do need to also start saving for retirement, because when you start saving early on, the amount that you have to actually save per month is very low. And most organizations do offer the NPS as a retirement benefit. So you might want to look at investing in the NPS equity option. There are tax benefits available on it as well. Additional tax benefits available. So it will also help you save some tax and as well save for retirement. And I would say to grow your money, certainly invest into mutual funds. They are professionally managed. You have mid-cap funds, which can provide you good growth over long-term periods. So certainly start investing into mutual funds.
Okay. All right. So ideally, as an investment split, I know you mentioned mutual funds, Mrin. What are the different pockets of investment instruments that you would advise these young investors put their money? And also, how much should be put in an emergency fund for these people who are still young, who have barely any expenses? How much would you advise we put in an emergency fund as well?
I would say 3 to 6 months of expenses. And with respect to the other investments, the percentage allocation to the other investments will have to be dependent on their salary and dependent on their goals that they have in their mind. But certainly, I would say that you should have at least 30 to 40% allocation to equity funds.
All right. Well, I think it's time to take on board some questions and queries. Then we've got a whole host of them, and we'll get to answering all of them one by one. So our first question is coming in from Sanjay Hariharan. He says, I'm selling my flat and I expect to get around 60 to 65 lakh rupees. Now he's asking Mrind that in the current market scenario, how should I allocate it with a 5-year horizon in mind? Mrind, what would you recommend? He is getting 60-65 lakhs. The markets are, well, doing pretty well right now, ignoring perhaps the third wave or anything. He's got a 5-year horizon. That as well is something to keep in mind. What would you recommend Sanjay do with this money?
Well, first and foremost, when you're selling your property, I hope you're aware that there is going to be capital gains applicable. And there are two options you have. You can actually reinvest that amount into another property within 2 years and save on the capital gains on the property that is being sold. Of course, you must remember that you should maintain the proceeds from the sale of the property till the time you find a new property in the SBI capital gains account. Now, since you mentioned that you would also think of investing in the markets from a 5-year perspective, I think, and also at the market levels that we are at, I think the dynamic asset allocation funds, which basically invest between equities and bonds, and they change the allocation depending on various parameters, I think you should look at dynamic asset allocation funds. So the terminology is also balanced advantage funds. This is the category of funds that you should look at.
Okay. All right. Well, there you have it. That's the query answered by Sanjay Hariharan. Okay, next up we have Mr. V.R. Rao writing that I've been investing varying amounts in the following mutual funds through SIPs in direct and in direct and growth plans. Okay, so he's got 12 mutual funds: ICICI Pro Value Discovery, which has been a great performing fund; Canara Robeco Emerging Equities, again, you know, a highly rated one; SBI Blue Chip FT Focused, Motilal Oswal Flexi Cap, Mirae Asset Large Cap and Mirae Asset Emerging, DSP Small Cap, Tata Hybrid, Axis Long Term ELSS, ABSL Flexi and UTI Mid Cap. He says his total investment is 98 lakh rupees and the total current value is 1.7 crores. Now he's saying he wants to book a profit of 50 crores. So he's asking you, Mrind, that what are the funds according to you where he can redeem this money so that he can get his amount of 50 lakhs. And that he says that he's also wanting to replace the new funds with he wants to replace the ones discontinued with some new funds. So I'm not exactly sure why he wants to take out the money in the first place. Probably just wants to book some profit. His total investment per month is 1.5 lakh rupees. He's a long-term investor with a reasonably high risk appetite. Mrind, you know, there's a saying, right, that if it's not broken, don't try to fix it. So I'm not sure why he wants to, you know, break open that 50 lakh rupees. But yeah, if in case he did have to, do you think that there are any funds which he could consider discontinuing?
Actually, what you're saying is so right. And also, he himself has mentioned that he's a long-term, high-risk-taking investor. So here's the question that I want to ask him, that why do you want to exit? In fact, all of these funds are well-performing, right? So when I look at the returns of all of these funds, they're doing really well. So my question is, and actually I'm being asked this a lot, that my fund has given good returns, should I exit and put the money somewhere else? But the whole point is that if your fund has given good returns, why do you want to exit? So I would just like to say the reason for exit has to be 2 or 3 reasons. One could be because you're near to your financial goal. The other could be due to underperformance of the fund. And the third could be if you're planning to do rebalancing. But rebalancing is between equity and debt. So if your idea to exit is because you feel, okay, I've made a good profit here, now I'll search for something else and I'll put money somewhere else where I think I can make a better return. To be honest, I find that very, very difficult to do. Now, even then, what I feel is that he's got 12 funds, and 12 funds is a lot to have. There is a fair bit of overlap also. And then, there are all types of funds. So there's an ELSS, there's a value fund, there's a focused fund, of course, large, small, mid cap, flexi cap, every type of fund is there. So I think, the first thing is to figure out what is the strategy you want to have, what is the market cap that you want to be in. If you want to be in a diversified space, then honestly, a flexi cap and a mid cap is good enough. You don't need all of these other funds in the portfolio. So what I would say is figure out your strategy. And if you want to bring down, and you should bring down the number of funds, then I think you should start by exiting the focused and the large and mid cap and hybrid fund. Because, since you said you're taking high risk and you've got 12 funds, I don't even know why a hybrid fund is there. So look at exiting maybe the large and mid cap focused and hybrid fund because you want to consolidate. I mean, as such, the funds are doing quite well. The funds chosen are also quite good.
Well, for now, we're going to take a very short break, but when we return, we'll be joined by a very special guest to talk to us about an insurance product that is most certainly the need of the hour. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back.